Good morning, happy Sabbath. Any idea what do we normally, like February is a special month, and when we talk about health awareness, any idea what kind of health awareness we have in February? Right, the color should, the color should kind of give it in. Right, so today we may talk slightly different than we normally talk about the heart. We'll still point some of the main things that we do want to be reminded. So it's the American Heart Month. And I want you to really pay attention to some of these statements. But it is still the #1 killer for men and women. And apparently it takes more lives than all the forms of cancer combined. Now, look in the middle, in the heart, what it says. I really want you to pay attention to that. What does it say? It's preventable and controllable. Unless you've been born with a defect, a lot of it is preventable. So let's not become a statistic. But it does take an effort from us to do something about it. We can't just pray for good health and we don't do our part, can we? So if we ask God's blessing on our lives, we do have to make sure that we align ourselves with the counsel that He's given us, because that's the only way we can be under His umbrella. If we pray to be protected and we go out of His umbrella and do our own thing, then you know the rest. So I just wanted to know that this is very serious, and as you can see, every 33 seconds somebody dies in the US from cardiovascular disease. And I want to tell you that now the age is starting to get younger and younger. I mean, to have somebody 30-something with a heart attack, that's a little bit too much already. We are getting a bit too much. So this time, I want to talk to you about foods also for the arteries. What will make our arteries more flexible? So legumes and nuts. Give me some example of legumes. What are legumes? Beans, lentils, right. So arginine is an amino acid from nuts and legumes that is a precursor of nitric oxide. Nitric oxide has a lot of function in our body. One of them is to relax our blood vessels, because that's when you take blood pressure medication, it affects that to kind of relax so that the blood can flow through, because if it's everything tight, nothing can go through. So if you eat the right foods, you get the precursor for nitric oxide. So it's a molecule that in moderation helps the arteries to dilate and reduces platelet clumping. What's the problem if the platelets would clump together? And what's the consequence? Usually, you know the next. So walnut consumption encourages the elasticity and flexibility of the arteries regardless of people's cholesterol levels. Make sure you have every day your walnuts, okay? We talk about that. And they are not just good for the heart, it's good for the brain as well. Now, something else that we really need to have daily in our diet is soluble fiber. So soluble fiber promotes cholesterol excretion and exerts anti-inflammatory activity. Sources of soluble fiber include legumes, again, berries, apples, figs, pears, broccoli, sweet potatoes, carrot, nuts, flaxseed, oats, and barley. This is not an exhaustive list. It's just the main ones, the most well-known that we normally have. So make sure you daily put something like this on your table to help deal with the cholesterol as well. Now, when we talk about colorful plants and foods, so colorful plants and foods are loaded with antioxidants. I think we've learned that before. Potassium-rich foods found in fruit and vegetables, magnesium from leafy greens and whole grains help the arteries to relax. Polyphenols in grapes and berries encourage the production of nitric oxide. Again, that guy that helps the arteries to stay relaxed and not to tighten up. Now, anthocyanins, which is the blue color in blueberries, the purple that you see in purple cabbage, red in fruit and vegetables, have the potential to improve vascular endothelial dysfunction. Now, endothelial is the inner lining that we have in our blood vessel. So when we eat this kind of foods, it helps to improve the vascular, so it makes it more elastic. And then carotenoids from orange foods also improve endothelial function. So all these things, you don't have to pay a fortune to get all these special supplements for the heart. Just eat colorful foods. Now, another part that's super important, exercise. So in sedentary humans, arteries stiffen in the central circulation, around here, cardiothoracic, and increases with advancing in age, even in healthy men and women. So you might follow the plan, you might have a very healthy lifestyle, but if you do not exercise, you can still get your arteries stiff. Frequent, regular, moderate exercise helps to keep the arteries elastic. Persistent, moderate, and vigorous exercise exerts antioxidant effect. Regular physical activity has been shown to promote the activities of antioxidant enzymes and stimulate glutathione levels in body fluids, which we talked about when we talked about viruses. Glutathione, it helps strengthen also our immune system. So on top of having good arteries, we also end up having good immune system just with exercise. Now, hydration. This is something really, really important. I have to say, I never thought like this about hydration. So minor dehydration may promote cardiac disease and arterial hardening in young, healthy men. In fact, by impairing the ability of blood vessels to dilate, mild dehydration significantly reduces vascular function nearly as much as smoking a cigarette. Make sure you drink your water. We've been saying that over and over. Drink your water. It helps the heart, it helps the brain, it helps the joints, it helps everything, as you can see. Now, sunshine. Now, this was also something that I learned. A lack of vitamin D, even in healthy people, is linked with stiffer arteries and an inability of blood vessels to relax, even after controlling for factors such as age, weight, and cholesterol. So you check everything out, you have good weight, you have good cholesterol, but your arteries can still get stiff if your levels of D are low. Now, in one study, people with vitamin D deficiency had vascular dysfunction comparable to those with diabetes and hypertension. Now, how do we know if we have the right level of vitamin D? How do we know? Go and get it tested. That's the best way to do. And it's good to have it once a year because, yeah, you may think I experimented myself. I did not take any supplements for a while of vitamin D, and I was out and about, and I was always deficient. Mark, the same. What was your level the first time when you checked? 5. It should be like 30 is the minimum. Yes. So, and he had no symptoms at that time, but it's serious. And vitamin D helps also with immunity. And we've learned now during COVID era that people who are deficient in vitamin D had COVID symptoms more aggressive than those who were not. Because we've seen some people, some of us had, COVID and we just flew through. We didn't have any problems, hardly anything. Others were almost dying. So we have to check our vitamin D levels and make sure I'm not a promoter to take supplements much, but these two I promote, vitamin D and B12 if you are vegan, even if you're not vegan. Because B12 it seems to be harder to get absorbed for some reason, even in people who eat meat. I found a lot of people deficient of B12 even with eating meat, red meat. So it's something that you want to keep in mind. Now, guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life, spiritually and physically as well. So that's found in Proverbs 4:23. Have here all the references, everything that I said, it's evidence-based. So if you have any questions, I'm always happy to answer them. But please really take care of your heart. Don't just pray that God will take care of you if you don't do your part, because you are limiting God. Okay? May God bless us to do what is right.